Welcome back everyone. We're going to be talking about how the iPhone 6s, iPhone 7, and iPhone 8 kind of hold up and compare to one another in 2020. Now obviously if you have all the money in the world, you should be buying the iPhone 11 Pro or the 11 Pro Max. Those phones will probably last you the longest. But from that $100 to about $250 range, these phones kind of hit those specific price tags in between. On Amazon, the iPhone 6s is selling for about $105, the iPhone 7 is selling for about $145, and the iPhone 8 is selling for about $235. So definitely kind of a range in prices, but if you think about it, even the top tier, the iPhone 8 right now in this specific comparison, that $235 price tag is super impressive in my opinion. And all these phones will be linked down below so you can buy them from there and help support the channel at the same time. But the main thing to kind of keep in mind is that yes, even though the iPhone 8 costs more, the storage models of each one of these are the base models. So the base model of the 6s is 16 gigs, base model of iPhone 7 is 32, and base model of iPhone 8 is 64. So that's kind of a big deal to kind of consider. Again, that's not the end all be all or anything, but that is definitely something to consider at the end of the day. You do not necessarily want to get a 16 gig phone or a 32 gig phone in my opinion in that 2020. Even though I currently use a 64 gig phone right now, I can definitely see how people would probably take up some of that storage, pretty quickly. So maybe even the iPhone 8's base model might not even be the best way to go. Maybe you should go opt for the 128 or 256 gig model. So in terms of the storage models, you're definitely going to be getting more out of an iPhone 8 or an iPhone 7. So the 6s in terms of that, it might be a better deal, face value, but it might not be the best value long term. And if you want longevity, the iPhone 8 will definitely be you and get you there. But I can still see how some people might want to get an iPhone 6s mostly because of that price tag. And I can definitely tell you, as of right now, if the iPhone 6s actually goes and gets iOS 14, that would definitely be a humongous plus for the 6s. That would mean that that phone will be getting multiple more years of support, at least, one more year of OS support, so we'll be getting iOS 14, but then it should be getting security updates on top of that, which that would be insane. This phone will technically last you up until probably like 2022, so it's 2020 right now. You can get another 2 years out of it potentially if it does get iOS 14, since Apple's kind of shifting over to their new security release lifecycle, so they're giving a year of software security updates after its full OS support. That means each one of these phones is at least going to be getting, a couple more years of support potentially. But here's the thing as well, if we're looking at sheer software value and software OS updates, the 6s and the 7, if the 6s actually gets iOS 14, potentially the iPhone 7 will probably end up ending on iOS 14 as well, which will be pretty insane because you're going to be getting these two phones that are going to be ending at the same time. And we had this happen before with the iPhone 5s and the iPhone 6. They both stopped at iOS 12, but they still got those security updates after. So that same thing I think could end up happening with the 6s and the 7. The 6s and the 7 will both be getting iOS 14, and then it'll be ending support, and then security updates on top of that. Whereas on the iPhone 8 side, that thing is getting many, many more years of software support still. It's going to be getting iOS 15. It could potentially be getting iOS 16, who knows? But that phone is going to be lasting for a very long time. So whether you get either one of these phones, you're still going to be pretty good in the software standpoint, which is really, really good. In terms of the way they look and everything, they look almost identically the same every which way. The biggest difference though is that the 6s does not have any water resistance, where the iPhone 7 and the iPhone 8, they both have water resistance. They're both IP certified. The 6s was claimed to be some type of water resistance, but it never got the certification. The iPhone 7 and the iPhone 8 both have that certification, which is a humongous plus in my book. So it's always good to have it than not to have it. So in terms of the way they feel and everything, they both feel the same. The 6s has the headphone jack, so whether you like it or not, you have that capability there. But for sure, at the end of the day, the 7 and the 8, I think in terms of the longevity and the durability, will probably end up doing you better. And even though we're in 2020 and the prices have dropped quite a bit, it still might be worthwhile to pick up a more expensive phone in the used market rather than, the cheapest one in the used market, in my opinion. Now, when it comes down to the performance and everything, there's really no competition. The iPhone 8 will definitely give you the best performance out of all three of these. But the other thing to keep in mind though is that the iPhone 7 and the iPhone 6s have held up very well in terms of the performance standpoint. The iPhone 6s has the A9 chip, we have the A10 chip on the iPhone 7, and then the A11 Bionic on the iPhone 8. And when it comes down to it, I've had very good performances on all these phones that I've owned. The iPhone 8, it being the best, but even the 6S, it really wasn't that slow. And if we're looking at a price per dollar standpoint, you're not getting like 150% or whatever more value or performance from an iPhone 8 versus the 6S, like how the price tag kind of show. It's not like twice of a better performing phone. It's a little bit better for sure. It's a little bit smoother performance as well, but I don't think the 6S is a bad performing device at all. The iPhone 7, it being in the middle, it really is kind of in the middle of both these phones. However, I do have some specific issues with the iPhone 7, which I'll get into in a second. So when it comes down to it, all three of these phones have a pretty decent performance, but the iPhone 8 being the best, the iPhone 6S obviously being the third best, but it's not that far behind. So if you're going to go pick up a 6S, you're not necessarily going to feel like you have a bad performing device at all. And a cool thing is that all these phones are supported under that checkmate jailbreak. So you can actually go and jailbreak each one of these phones, which is a humongous plus. A lot of the newer iPhones do not have that type of capability, but we do have that capability on these phones, which is really, really awesome. So if you need to, you can easily go and jailbreak each one of these and go and, install the no slow animations or home button acceleration or one of those type of tweaks to kind of speed up that whole entire UI and the experience you're going to have with it. So for sure, at the end of the day, I'll definitely tell you, I think in terms of the performance, you're definitely going to be getting the best performance out of the iPhone 8. But even if the iPhone 8 was like a 10 out of 10, the iPhone 6S would probably be like an 8 out of 10, and the iPhone 7 probably being like a 9 out of 10 in terms of the performance. And and the iPhone 8 is not the fastest performing phone anymore, but when it comes down to it, it is the fastest one out of here, but it's really not too much faster than an iPhone 6S or an iPhone 7 in my opinion. So that pretty much covers it up in the performance standpoint. And I'll go ahead and hit on the cameras, but I've done so many videos, I've compared each one of these phones to one another separately, but when you come down to it and combine them, there's really not too many crazy differences in terms of the features that the iPhone 8 can do, that the 6S can't do, that the 7 can't do. They all don't support portrait mode. They don't have any like crazy things like that. They both can do 4K. But the main thing probably is that the iPhone 8 can do 4K at 60 frames, which is, a pretty big feat. I think that's really cool. And that is definitely the future. We now have phones that have 8K capabilities. So that, the next thing is 8K at 60, which will probably happen sooner than we know it. The iPhone 7 and the iPhone 6S do not support 8K at all, or 4K, sorry. And the iPhone 6S and the iPhone 7 do not support 4K at 60, which might not be a big deal, but it could be a big deal. They all have the single 12 megapixel camera sensor, so that's already kind of like something negative in my books. I would always kind of stay away from just a phone having a single camera, but if you don't have a choice, then you don't have a choice. It's not that big of a deal. I can definitely tell you when it comes down to it, the camera sensor on the iPhone 8 will probably do you better in the long run, which would be a really, really huge plus by having 4K at 60 in my opinion. Now on the front, you have 5 megapixel camera 6S, and then a 7 megapixel on the 7, and then another 7 megapixel on the 8. Both can do 1080p at 30 frames on the front camera, no 4K at 60 on the front camera or anything like that. So I'll tell you for sure at the camera standpoint, they're all almost kind of the same, but the 8 will definitely do you better by having that 8K at 60. The 7 and the 6S both do not support that, which, might not be a big deal, but it is kind of, a cooler thing to have on the iPhone 8. Now I'll go ahead and end up with the battery life. This ended up being like a comparison, like a full-on comparison. I wasn't expecting to do this. In terms of the battery life, 1715 on the 6S, 1960 on the iPhone 7, and 1821 on the iPhone 8. And all those battery lives weren't really the best, if I'm being honest. I think the iPhone 7 probably had the best battery life, but the iPhone 7 is the phone that I've had the most problems with. So it's kind of like in that funny, like in the middle ground where like you like it, but you can't because it's like has an issue. However, the iPhone 8 probably wins out of all these because it does have a wireless charging, which is a humongous deal in my opinion. It's always best to have some type of wireless charging at the end of the day, whether you like it or not, and whether you use it or not. That is a feature that's kind of a necessity nowadays, and if you don't have it, then that means like you pretty much have a phone that's like way outdated in my opinion, because every single phone has wireless charging. So I think in terms of this point, the iPhone 8 probably wins in terms of the battery standpoint. Now to kind of sum up this comparison, this is the first time I think I've done a 3-phone comparison, and I can tell you at the end of the day, the iPhone 8 will be my go-to phone to recommend to a lot of people. This is the phone that, if you're in the market, for $200 and something, you cannot go wrong with this phone. Even though the new iPhone SE is coming out, you still cannot go wrong with picking up a phone. The iPhone SE is not going to be costing $200 something. It's going to be costing upwards to $400, probably more than that. And that phone we're probably going to end up seeing tomorrow But I can definitely tell you between these three phones, the iPhone 8 is the way to go, and the iPhone 6s is the best value per dollar though between all these. For around $100, you can pick up a 6s. You can use it for as long as you want to, until it breaks. You have that checkra jailbreak on all these phones, which is really nice, and I think that one has the best value per dollar. I think the iPhone 7 is a decent pickup too, but if you're already going to go pay up for the iPhone 7, I would just recommend buying an iPhone 8. I think that would definitely do you much better in the long run. You're going to be getting those software updates, the checkra jailbreak is still there, performance, the camera. You're getting a pretty good package for a really, really good price in my opinion. So that pretty much covers it. All these phones will be linked down below like I just said, but that's pretty much it. If you guys have any other questions or anything, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys can hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel, all those links are linked down below. I'd really appreciate if you guys would check it out. More importantly, everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.